Good afternoon, learners. Welcome to today's lesson, which is obviously arrays lesson 2. Thank you for joining me today. So again, just some quick rules. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the Zoom group chat, and I'll try to answer your questions. So, and please be respectful in that. As I stated over here, we'll obviously look at the second lesson for arrays today. So thank you for those who joined us yesterday or the other 2 days as well. So let's move on. Okay, so what would you learn by the end of this lesson? You would obviously learn the different methods to populate an array. You would learn the different ways to display output data, and obviously you would learn how to code an example relating to arrays. Okay, so just bear with me. I have a problem putting my PowerPoint into a slideshow, so I'm just going to use it the way it is at the moment. Okay, so just to recap what we spoke about yesterday, or what did we learn so far from yesterday? Obviously, yesterday we were able to define an array, and obviously we said that an array is different from a variable because an array can store multiple values and a variable can only store a single value. Okay, so that's what we figured out yesterday, just the basics. And finally, we went on to yesterday talking about how to declare an array. Okay, so that was it yesterday. So today we're going to look at populating an array. What do we mean by populating an array? Okay, so obviously a term that you'll hear quite commonly in arrays. It means assigning values to the different positions in an array or in the array. Okay, what do we mean by populating? It means assigning values to the different positions in the array. Because remember from yesterday's lesson, an array is able to store multiple values, obviously by using the positioning as a guide. So we're looking at today how to populate values in an array. Okay, it's good for us to note the terminology, and obviously the first way to assign values is when these values are given to you. Okay, what do we mean by when these values are given to you? In this instance, the values have been provided to you. Okay, all you have to do is assign each value to a specific position in an array. In this case, obviously just to continue the explanation, in this case, there will be no input by the user. Okay, did that clarify what we mean by values are given? So how would this look? Obviously, it will be example, assign the names Tom, Peter, John, and Sue to the array. Okay, as you can see, it's not depending on user input. It is obviously given to us. It said the names are as follows. So let's go to Delphi, and obviously you can see it done for you over here, but I'm just going to share with you that screen where we can look at how to actually do this. Okay, so I'm going to share that screen with you. Okay, so as you can see, I just have a form over there with nothing on it. But I'm just going to show you from yesterday. For those who are joining us today, we declare our array globally. It can be done over here under public declarations, but I'm just going to keep mine over here. The purpose of global declaration, again, is to obviously allow the entire program to have access to the array. So how would this array look? So obviously we said we're calling it, let me just have a look at again at what we were doing. So it was obviously called S array names. Okay, so resume share S array. Okay, S, remember that's the convention because we are working with a string um, variable or string array, not variable. Okay, notice the colon array. Okay, we're declaring it as usual, and I'm just going to use 4 over there, and I'm going to make it of string. Now, if values are given to us, learners, it's quite simple. All we have to do is state those values, and I would state mine using a round bracket. Okay, so take note, declaration is done same as yesterday, and and we obviously set 4 values, so that's the size of my array of string. But notice if values are assigned to you, can you see we put a equal to sign or equals to after the string? So that's what we would do when we are assigning values to an array. Now I'm just going to type 4 names over here. I don't have the PowerPoint in front of me, but I'm just gonna just use it as what we're working with over here. So let's just look at, I'm just looking at my participants. Let's just say Aldo, comma, Angelique, comma, Anika, and comma, Anton. Okay, hope you learners don't mind using your names, but basically that is how we would assign values to an array. Okay, I know I showed the example that I had some other names over there, but just keep switching from the PowerPoint to Delphi. It's a bit time consuming, and I want to make sure that these lessons are as profitable as possible. So again, S array names, really simple from yesterday. Colon, notice there's no equals to there, it's colon. And learners, if you're getting confused, that is why I advise that you declare your array in this var part. Because if you look above here, did you notice this form 4 was already done for us? Okay, so it gives you an idea of how your array should look. So again, it's just a tip. If you find with it, by all means continue. So colon array, the size of the array is 4. Notice the square brackets, and notice when we assign values to an array. Okay, we assign values, we put the equals to, and that is how we assigned values into an array. Okay, so I hope that was clear. Now let's go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so as you can see again over here, it just explains this example about Tom, John, Peter, and Sue. And again, it's exactly the same thing, but I like to show you exactly where it's being typed out. Okay, so we're going to go to the next slide. And we're just going to try to familiarize ourselves with this. And learners, you're welcome to have a piece of paper out, or even do it in Delphi. You know, I know there's a lot of issues with learners getting access to Delphi or any type of problem, but it's also fine for you to be able to write your code out, okay? So example 2 says, assign the following numbers to an array called array numbers. Okay, assign the array numbers to an array called array numbers, and the numbers are 56, 78, 88, and 98. Okay, 56, 56, 78, 88, and 98. Now, before we get to the code, let's do this together. And obviously, you guys will agree with me. But let's try to figure out the code before we actually get to Delphi. Would you agree with me that we are working with integers? Okay. What is the size of the array? Notice they're not going to be so nice to you and say, okay, create a variable or create an array with 4 values. No, if the values are assigned and they want you to place it into an array, during declaration, you need to be able to count those values, and you need to be able to see what the size is going to be. Now, you would agree with me that we have 4 values, so the size of our array will obviously be 4. Okay, so let's do example 2, and we would obviously come back to this so that everyone by the end of this lesson knows how this works. So we're going to use, and please learners, please pay attention to what the question is stating. If they stated that you must create an array called array numbers, then that is what you would do. You don't give it your own names. You tend to use what's in the paper. Okay, it's, remember, the idea of FET is to prepare you, or it's a phase where where we prepare you from 10, 11, and 12. So all this is preparation for next year. So please, let's continue. So we're going to say array num, because that's what was given to me. Array, everyone's happy because we had 4 numbers, and obviously those numbers were integers. Now it's obviously numbers we're working with, so it doesn't, oh, by the way, did you notice for the string we obviously had those single quotations over there? Okay, I think that's, you know that by now. But anyways, just to continue, 56, 78, 88, 98. Did you see how simple that was? Okay, Notice I used the name that was provided to me. I hope everyone uh, okay, so Ethan says, what is the purpose of an array? Ethan, just to recap from yesterday, the purpose of an array is to allow the user to store multiple values because a variable does not allow that. Okay, a variable can only store one value at a time. Okay, so I hope I addressed Ethan's question. So again, so I array numbers 1 to 4 of integer, 56, 78, 88, and 98. Okay, so everyone's getting used to it now. So let's go again. Okay, let's go back to our PowerPoint and you'll see, okay, look at this now. Example 3, assign the following characters. Now, what I'm trying to demonstrate over here is, uh, okay, so Jamie says that it got cut out. Okay, sorry about that, guys. If the connection is, if you tend to having experiencing internet connections problems. So it allows users to store multiple values, okay? And as TJ went, it says keeping data so that it can be used later on. Okay, so we're just gonna go on to the next one, which says assign the following characters to an array. So notice we first started off with strings, we went on to integers, and now we can work with characters. The purpose, what I'm trying to demonstrate is that any data type, sorry, can be used in an array. So let's do this quickly. I'm not going to really waste time with this now. So I think you guys get the idea. I'm going to call it C array initials because remember a character is one value. That's what makes it different from a string. And notice in this instance, uh, for those with, so Jade says, will you get an error if you use a quotation marks with numbers? Let's try that, Jade. Let's try that, okay? Okay, doesn't seem like, but obviously it's not going to allow us to work with those numbers with calculations. Okay, so we're going to continue. See array initials. In that example, there were 6 initials, just for you to see again in case you didn't follow that. In that example, there was 6 initials, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everyone's happy that the size of this array would be 6. Okay, so let's go back. And when we go back to Delphi, everyone's happy that it's 1 to 6 because there's 6 characters in this array. And notice it's obviously off char and it's equal to, and characters are surrounded with quotations. So we're going to say L, okay, let's be specific to what it said. L, N, Z, E, F, and G. Is everyone happy with that? We close and we're done. Okay, so that's character. So so just to recap, string, integer, char, everyone's happy with that. And then we go to the next slide. Let's look at what the next slide is telling us. The next slide is obviously going on and it's saying, okay guys, I hope by now you familiarized yourself with this. No, but the numbers would be strings and not integers. Okay, yes, that is what we're trying to say, Morgan, that we wouldn't be able to use those numbers in mathematical calculations had we done that. Okay, so yes, Boolean values can be stored in an array. So yes, can we use Boolean values in this array? Now, it's very rare that we would get asked to do this, but remember the idea is to make sure that you have uh, oh, so TJ says, why is the C array initial 1 to 6 and not 1 to 4? CJ, because, or TJ, sorry, because there's 6 characters. I'll just go back to that slide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So remember, guys, that's the idea of this. I tried to change it up a bit so we're not limited in our thinking and in terms of how this works. So moving on to Boolean values. Are Boolean values required? Yes, Boolean values can be stored in an array, but remember, because it's Boolean, we are limited to true and false. Okay, so if you're using Boolean values, you only can use the words true or false in it. Okay, so let's look at it. Assign the following Boolean values to an array called B array valid. Okay, so again, if you're using Boolean values, you want to make sure that it is true or false values. So let's just show you that. I know, as I said, it's not that you will get asked, but just for you to have all the knowledge that you need. Okay, So it's B. Let's look at this. So we've got B array valid. Okay. Array, and obviously there were 4 values in that array, 1 to 4 of Boolean, okay, equals to, and I'm just going to put what was in the previous slide, which was true, false, false, true. Okay, so everyone's happy with that. So moving on, learners, I hope that is not going too fast. Again, if it's going too fast, just let me know so we can take it a bit easy. But again, before we move on to the PowerPoint, everyone is happy with the string variables? Is everyone happy with the integer, the char, the Boolean? Okay, finally, which is commonly used in arrays, is the decimals, okay, or real values. So finally, we're going to look at real values for the assignment of for the assigning of values to an array. Okay, so let's look at this question. The question, or this part of the slide says, assign the following percentages to R array marks percentage. Really simple, okay? Everyone's happy with a real value. So let's look at this now, because we tend to see a lot of children, a lot of learners, when they're working with decimal values, they tend to mess it up sometimes. So let's look at the common errors over here. So immediately we had 4 values, but remember, it doesn't have to be 4 values. Okay, so we're calling it R array mark percentage. Percentages, let's make it that because it's storing more than one value. And there are 4 values over there. Okay, of real. Everyone's happy why it's real, because it's decimals that we are working with. But this is the common mistake that learners will make. And they will put there, for instance, the values in the slide was 78,25. Now, remember that it is a dot, learners. How do we remember this if we're putting decimals? It is a dot because it's obviously decimals that we are working with. Please do not get confused and put 78,25. That will obviously make it a integer, and that's not what we want. So again, notice the dot. The dot is really important when you're using decimals. The comma is used to separate values, whereas the dot is used with decimals. I hope that point came across quite clear. The dot is used with decimals, and the comma is used to separate the different values that are stored in this array. Okay, and then we got 45,75. Okay, so let's just look at this question. Big Mac asked the question, could you assign a value to an array using input like inum? Yes, Big Mac. It's obviously, as someone responded to him, yes, that is possible. Okay, and we would look at those examples as well. Okay, remember, Big Mac, I'm not sure what your name is, but the name that you're using over there, the first method of assigning values to an array is when the values are given to you. Okay, the first method used when yes, we would look at an example of that. Okay, okay, so Mick says he likes Big Macs. Anyways, let's continue. So R array percentages. Remember, guys, the idea of this, the first method is just assigning values, assigning values to an array which was given to us. Okay, so again, we're going to look at input boxes, we're going to look at all those things, but we're looking at the different methods of assigning values to an array. So I hope that was clear. Hopefully by now everyone is understanding or got an idea of what an array is. So the second way of assigning values, okay? When assigning values, why is there no colon? Okay, Cassie, that's the way that it's done. It's obviously the equal to, and remember, when assigning values that are given to you, there's no colon. Okay, so yes, let me just go back and let's demonstrate that one more time. I'm glad you guys are noticing these things, because learners tend to learn the code, and when it comes to the exam, then they mess this up. Notice there is no colon equal to over there. Okay, it is just equal to. So please take note of that. A colon equal to is obviously used with our implementation. This is obviously forming part of declarations. Okay, so thank you for that, and I hope that it's everyone is seeing the finer detail in arrays. So we're gonna get back to the slide. Now I know everyone is like, doesn't isn't there more to it than just this? So the second way of assigning values. So the first way was when it was given to us, and I'm hoping that you guys are masters at how to allocate values that are given to you. The second way is randomly generating values for the array. Okay, the second way is randomly generating values for the array. So what does it mean? It means that we randomly generate a value and take that value and place it at a position in the array. Okay, which is quite nice because that's also quite important. It goes to the next point in the slide that you can see in front of you, and it says, by randomly generating values to store in our array, we are able to save time and it is extremely beneficial for testing purposes. Now, you would agree with me, okay? If you had 1,000 values or 100 values, I don't think you would want to input that via the keyboard, or you want to spend time assigning it just like what we did now. So random values are very important as well, but please note what the question says. So example, create an array called iArray numbers. Again, you notice the name of the array is what you would use. You don't make your own names. Okay, create an array called iArray numbers to randomly generate 6 numbers in the range 1 to 20. Okay, so again, we hope you saw that. I'm just gonna, if it means you're taking pictures of it, whatever, as we go to Delphi, please just note that. I think it's not, it's a bit time consuming if we keep switching from PowerPoint to Delphi. So please, again, the question is create an array called iArray numbers to randomly generate 6 numbers in the range 1 to 20. Now, before we get there, let's try to analyze this question first. Okay, so it goes and says randomly generate values for arrays. That's a button. When we click this button, the value should be randomly generated. I just placed the output component over there, learners. We're not going to really use it now, but just to demonstrate that this is typically of how the array might look. Okay, so the question said everyone's happy with the name of the array being iArray numbers. Okay. What's the size of the array? Is everyone happy that it will be 6 numbers? And is everyone happy that we will we will assign random values in the range 1 to 20? So let's get back to Delphi. Please listen. Okay, and let's go create a new VCL form. Not gonna save that. Okay, I'm just gonna put a T button and a T-rich edit. Okay, learners, so we're not gonna really use the T-rich edit, so I'm not gonna really worry about naming it. I'm going to click on the button, and the button was obviously called randomly generate values. Okay, caption, I think this is quite straightforward. Okay, so let's double click on that. Remember, arrays are declared globally, so we go to var, okay, and we obviously declare this array. So we said that this array is called iArray random numbers, okay, and it told us to assign 6 random numbers. So everyone's happy with there being 6 over there. Of what data type? Random numbers, integers. So that's what we're going to work with, and that's it. Okay, in this instance, I hope though you're looking at your screen. In this instance, we weren't given values. So pay attention or notice where we stopped at. There is no equal to, okay? That's how we would declare it. And please take a moment to just look at this. Okay, this is randomly generating to how it is declared. Okay, I'm gonna put there, note they are no equal to sign. Okay, so we're going to go back to our button. So everyone's happy with that. Let's double click our button and let's do some code. Okay, now this is what I want to ask you now. We want, and yesterday, I don't know if those learners are here who joined us yesterday, but yesterday the question was, is an array a for loop? Okay, And obviously it's not a for loop, because what is the purpose of a for loop? If the purpose of a for loop is to obviously automate automate the process of repetition for us. Would you agree? The purpose of the for loop is to automate automate the repetition of a process. So obviously sorry about that, learners. I don't know why it's. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's continue. So let's look at our chat. Okay, is that fine now? So yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why it cut off, but let's continue. Okay, so let's continue with this code. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to talk about the fact of why we need a for loop. Now, please can we note this, that when using an arrays, the for loop is over there. The for loop is not an array, okay? The for loop is not an array. So obviously, you need to know that it is used with an array. Okay, so I colon integer. Okay, hoping Keegan, everyone can see it now. The screen is fine now. Okay, thank you for your joke, Mike. Okay, so for I is equal to 1, 2, 6. Okay, 1 to 6, do begin. Guys, I'm hoping that the screen is fine now. Okay, so begin. Now, notice what I'm doing. I'm saying I array numbers. And if you don't know this by now, obviously, it is quite easy for us to do this. Control space will give you the auto prediction for generating these values for you. Okay, so Anika, yes, I will repeat that. So when we're using an array, Anika, and the rest of the class, when we're using an array, the for loop forms part of it, okay? Because what would the for loop do? Now remember, the purpose of a for loop, you probably learned this in grade 10 or maybe at the start of grade 11, whichever. The purpose of a for loop is to repeatedly execute a statement depending on the number of times you want it. Okay, so the purpose of the for loop is to repeat something. So we want to allocate 6 values in this array. So the most appropriate structure we will use is a for loop, because we know the size. Okay, when we know the size, and it's obviously for I is equal to 1 to 6. I'm going to put a message over here, and please take this down if you have to. Note the for loop, okay? And note the size. Is everyone happy with that? If there's any questions, please just talk to me over there. So I'm going to say I array numbers, and this is really important, learners, okay? Because an array is different from a variable, we obviously need to make it look differently. So in an array, we obviously have square brackets. What is the point of the square brackets? The point of the square brackets is for the position. Now, can you notice that? Can you notice that? Okay, so let's go ahead and let's call this I position. Let's try to make it a bit easier for us since it's our first lesson with arrays. Okay, let's try to make it a bit easier for us. I'm going to say I position is equal to, let's see, why is that an error? Okay, so for I position is equal to 1 to 6. Now notice, because it's an array that we are working with, it has to be used with square brackets. Okay, and I'm seeing why it is giving us an error. Okay, so, okay, I see the problem. It's obviously position. Okay, is everyone happy with that? So is equal to random range. Now I like using random range. I don't know about you guys, you all prefer random, but I'm just going to go with random range for today. It said randomly generate values in the range 1 to 50. Okay, because it's 1 to 50, remember, if you were with me the previous 2 days, when you use random range, you have to stop at 1 higher than the stated value. So if it said 1 to 50, we're going to go 1 comma 51. Okay, but why is there still an error? There's still an error because you need to go to uses and learners. I'm going to go to uses and I'm going to say comma math. Thank you, Keegan. Going to say comma math. Okay, Jamie says it's honestly so difficult. It's going to drop. No, Jamie, it's not difficult. Just give you a chance. Give yourself some time to understand it. So it should make it. You should make it, you need to understand. I promise you, anything when it starts off seems like it's a bit intimidating, but give yourself a chance. It shouldn't be a problem at all. Okay, so I array numbers, I position is equal to random range 1, 51. Now, I'm going to give you guys a chance to look at this. I'm going to spend a minute. I'm going to leave this here for a minute, okay, for you to look at this. So I'm seeing some questions over here. Yazid Fredericks asks, why are you using colon equal to and not the equal to? Because Yazid, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's because we are not doing it under declarations. Okay, we are not doing it under declarations. We are doing it under implementation or within a button. Okay, so please note that, and please learners take note. If it's done under declaration, and if you were given the values, you would obviously go ahead and use the equal to. But if you relied on the computer to generate values for you, obviously you want to use the colon equal to. I'm going to not move on for a little while, and I want you guys to all understand this. Do we understand the purpose of the for loop? Okay, let's put a comment over here. Okay, and let's do this in there. The purpose of the for loop, let's do this. Okay, the purpose of the for loop is to automate or automatically allow the position to change for us. Okay, so the purpose of the for loop, learners, is to automatically allow the position to change for us. Remember, we want to take the first random number and place it at position 1. We want to take the second random number and put it at position 2. We want to take the third random number and place it at position 3. So the for loop will automate this for us, and it will keep changing the position for us. Okay, so I hope that was easy for you to understand. Again, if it seemed a bit confusing, it's only your first time. I'm sure you guys will get used to it. And please watch the video later on again on YouTube. It is over there, by the way, so you can obviously pause when you have to, but please try it out. So I want to go ahead to the last part before we get to an example. Let's go back to let's go back to the last part. Okay, so learners, I hope you can hear me now. Sorry about that. We're just having issues with this, with the Delphi here, so with the PowerPoint. But let's just continue. Okay, so I'm just going to continue in the event that we this thing. Sorry about that. There's always going to be uh, technical issues when you are working. So I'm going to get back to my PowerPoint, but I'm just going to allow that to settle in the meantime. And while that is doing that, I want to talk to you about the future lessons. Okay, so the future lessons will obviously take place on Tuesday again. So remember that, please. Future lessons will take place on Tuesday again. There wouldn't be any lessons this weekend because obviously with Easter today and tomorrow as well. So we'll only continue again on Tuesday. Okay, so just waiting for my lesson to get back on. Yeah. So I'm going to continue, guys. So just thank you for your understanding. Tuesday at 2 p.m. Yes, Anika. Okay, let's just try to cover up for that lost time, please. I'm so sorry about this. So, okay, so finally, learners, we're going to look at a value where we can allow the user to input 5 numbers and store it into the array. Okay, so I'm going to share with you that screen quickly. Okay, so finally, I hope we can cover up some of the time that was lost from the keyboard. So the first input was obviously given to us. The second one was randomly generating values, and the third one is using an input box. And this is what one of the learners, one of the people I was talking to on the group chat asked, using an input box. So let's do this quickly and let's try to do this example. Allow the user to input 5 numbers and store it in an array called iArray numbers. Okay, so this is an interface. Let's look at how it is done and let's try to do the code quickly before our time is up. Okay, so let's go back into Delphi. Okay, let's create a new form quickly for this. I'm not going to waste time. And I'm going to just put a button. Okay. And I'm going to call this button input numbers into an array. Okay, guys, I just want to get through this here. So we're just going to get through our Delphi. So we obviously input numbers into the array. Now remember, we want to input 5 numbers into my array. So we're going to ask the user to obviously be able to input those values. So we go ahead and we will say, okay, so we'll go to say iArray numbers. Okay, everyone's happy with that. Colon array, because that's our data structure. What is the size of this array? 5 of integer. Take note, there is no equal to sign because we're obviously allowing the user to allowing the user to input those values using the keyboard. We come to our button, we will obviously say var I for the for loop. Everyone's happy with that, the I for the for loop, because what is the purpose of the for loop? The for loop will automatically allocate positions to our array. So 1, 2, 5, everyone's happy with that. Why it's 5. And then we're going to say begin. Now this is the part that everyone was looking forward to, hopefully. iArray numbers. And because it's an array, it obviously is used with square brackets. What do we put in square brackets? We put in the position. And in my case, the position is the I from the for loop is equal to, remember string to int. Okay, everyone's happy with that, string to int. And we will say input box num input. And I'm not going to really talk to you guys about input box code. This should be really grade 10 work. Enter a number, and we will put a space over there. Okay, so I have about 5 minutes left. So I'm just going to try to round this up quite quickly. And we're obviously going to look at it in terms of what we can take home from this. Now, Again, this last method is obviously using an input box to allow the user to input code. Learners, I'm seeing some questions over there, but I want to just make sure that this is finished off. So just bear with me, please. So for I is equal to 1 to 5, I hope you understand why it's 5. I array numbers because it's an array that we are working with. Obviously, it is used with square brackets. Okay, remember everything comes in as a string, so string to int, input box because we need to state that number input, enter a number. Okay, so let's move on back to our slide. And please, if you need to take a minute just to look at that, I hope it's fine. I hope that you understand that, but we will look at it again next week, Tuesday, just to recap on certain things. Now we're gonna go back to the PowerPoint. Now, remember guys, just to tie up what we learned for today, we learned method 1 of assigning values to an array, which was given to us. Method 2 is randomly generating values, and method 3 is obviously an input box. Okay, so you can take a picture of this and try it out for homework. Okay, and it says create a project called my first array example. Okay, it says allow the user to input 5 decimal numbers, again real values that you are working with. Display the numbers vertically. It's not going to be a problem to display. Find the sum and average and do some kind of formatting. Okay, so please take a picture of that if you have to. Yeah, I also wish, Marco, that these lessons were longer. So we would the slides would be on YouTube though, and I do apologize about that interruption. I don't know what went wrong, but thank you for your understanding, guys. I'm just going to go to the last part, which is what we can take away from this. Remember, what did we learn for today, learners? We learned the different methods of assigning data to an array. We worked with different data types, and we should be able to answer a question relating to arrays. I'm going to go back over there and just allow you to take a picture if you have to, so you can spend this weekend to do this work. Yes, Keegan, there is. I would like you to try it out just for you guys to get to familiarize yourself with understanding how this arrays work. Trust me when I say it is nothing complicated. Give yourself a week, you would be masters at this. So take care, guys. I will chat to you again next week. Thank you for your time. Bye.